What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and I am joined by Degenerate Jay. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy VII's remake on the PS5. We can also talk about PC. There were a lot of rumors regarding the PC. Now, we're going to take a slight spin on this. We were originally going to kind of talk about what's going on with it, when could we see it. I've talked about a lot of leaks with this game over the last many months. Well, again, we've heard PS5, we've heard PC, we've heard Game of the Year edition, or like a full edition where it'll have DLC story. So I want to get, Jay loves this game. I know that, just from knowing him. He does an amazing job on his channel, but he's a big Final Fantasy guy as well. So I thought this would be a perfect topic for him to jump in and kind of, even go over stuff we've already talked about to have his perspective. But one new thing I want to throw in is obviously in just a few hours from now, today, is Sony's State of Play. And there's a lot of rumors, including from our old friend Jeff Grubb, who's normally pretty darn right. And there's a lot of rumors that this game will be shown at the State of Play, that it would be announced, officially to come to PS5. And I'm sure we would get release date, new information, all that stuff there. So we will talk a little bit about that as well in this video. Just wanted to kind of throw that in there. As always, if you guys do like this stuff, make sure you guys are subscribed here, have the bell icon turn on, and also, again, make sure you guys are subscribed to Jay. All of his stuff, his main channel, his second channel, his Twitter, will be in a link in the description below, as well as a pinned comment. Jay, thank you so much for being on this video.
Hey dude, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure as always to be here. And yeah, I'm super hyped for Final Fantasy VII. I mean, whatever they want to introduce, I'm down.
Yeah, so I mean, and you've made videos before over actually, going back quite a while. Your Game of the Year last year, one of your favorite games of all time. So I thought this would be perfect for you. So let me just get your on this channel, right? Your impressions of it. So what would you say if I told you, okay, so and we got to remember, Jay and I were recording this the day before. So today at State of Play, we get, okay, it's coming out on PS5, it's coming out on PC, say it comes out in April or May. Now remember, it's exclusive to PS4 for 1 year. The exclusivity is 1 year, so it would have to be, I believe, towards the end of March, early April, or sometime in May, in order, obviously, to let that go. And the reason that's important is, again, because the rumor is it's coming to PC, that it's not coming to Xbox. That was a leak or a rumor that happened a few weeks ago that it's not coming to Xbox. So all that, you'd have to pay full price because it would have additional story missions, those the trademarks that they did for this game. So what would you say, Jay, to something like that? Would you buy it? Would you think it's worth it? Like by throwing in the DLC and the next gen upgrades, do you think that's worth replaying it? Do you think it gets announced today? What do you think?
Well, first off, I certainly think it's worth it to me. Because I think this is one of the best JRPGs in years. JRPGs have struggled a little bit, actually. I would say in the last decade, since the PS3 era of gaming, and maybe not been quite what they were. But this game was incredible. I absolutely love it. I think additional content would really help. It doesn't feel undone or anything, but it does feel like, when I finished it, I was like, I wish there was a little more. So adding a little bit more could certainly help flesh out this game even more than it already is. I do think that would be welcome. I understand that maybe some people who played this and didn't love it, that wouldn't be worth buying for them. Totally get that. But others, we're talking a generational upgrade. It's not from the ground up, obviously, a year later, but it would be in higher resolution for sure, and probably a steadier frame rate even than it was. And I think that the PC thing is interesting. I would love for it to come to PC. I have a PC, built one myself, and I love it. I also play on console as well. I play on both. And I would love it just because of what the community could do. Like, for example, when I was playing through Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was kind of thinking, I wish there were some costumes, stuff like that you could switch out just to give your characters a little more personality of your own. They didn't really do that in this game. I think that PC could certainly help things like that through fan creations, and I'm sure add in other stuff like bosses or whatever. I think that would be really cool to see. I don't understand some of the anger over this, and here's why I say that. This game, if it does come to PC and PS5, this is no different to me than the Xbox exclusives coming to PC and Xbox and not PS4. If you want to loop PC in on the exclusivity thing, that's fine, cool. You do run a risk here because, like, for example, I didn't buy an Xbox Series X, not because there's anything wrong with it, but because I don't need one. They basically said everything that was exclusive to Series X and Xbox One is coming to PC. And it's like, okay, well, I built a powerful PC. I don't need your hardware anymore. I just don't need it. So you run that risk of basically telling a lot of people who would otherwise buy your console if it was the only way to play things that they don't need your console anymore. But it also does add a lot of accessibility, like to the PC crowd that never would have bought that console no matter what, or to the people who maybe start on Xbox and then they get a better job, or they, move out and all of a sudden they have disposable income and they want to build a PC and, move some of their gaming over there, stuff like that. There are positives to bringing Final Fantasy VII to PC. There are positives to bringing it to PlayStation 5. There's also some negatives, like, will people complain, well, why did you release this incomplete version a year ago, for PS4 then? Stuff like that. I don't know how much outrage there would be over that. I don't think that much. I've seen people saying they wouldn't buy it, but the majority of people seem to be saying, like, hey, listen, I know I paid $60 or $70 or $80 for this, depending on the version and where I am, but I loved it so much, I don't mind throwing more money at this single player experience. And a lot of those people are people who are basically like, I want more games like this. I want more Final Fantasy VIIs, more Spider-Mans, more Batman Arkham, more Assassin's Creed, stuff where it's like focused on one person playing the game and it's not focused on like V-Bucks and, loot crates and kill death ratios online and stuff like that. People want to support the single player game industry and practice, and it doesn't have the amount of microtransactions and stuff to support it monetarily as other things do, which we've seen. Even people who primarily made single player games, Rockstar, they've pivoted so much to just focusing on their online experience, and their single player experience just is what it is when it launches. It's great, but we're not adding to it. We've seen a lot of that, and I think a lot of that crowd, myself included, who wants to see more of these single player games, would absolutely just drop the money on it again. I truly believe that.
If it's at State of Play and if it wants to be like, so we know the State of Play tonight is going to be, or I guess today, whatever you want to say it, is going to have like a few brand new announcements. I think a lot of people could be thinking, like a God of War, or I guess that's not even new, but if they're thinking like Spider-Man 2 or like Uncharted, I think that's putting it kind of high, expectations kind of high. I think a Final Fantasy VII, it is new. That would be new if you announce it on PS5. That would I would classify it as a new game. So I could easily see it fitting into the criteria basically that Sony has said for what the State of Play is going to be. And then I agree with you. I think there's a couple ways you can look at it. It going to PC. If you're mad that it's not going to Xbox, I mean, well, like it's not the nicest way of seeing it, but I guess the easiest way of seeing it would just be, okay, well, you can kind of see the relationship like written on the walls here between Sony, Square Enix. You look at Final Fantasy 16, right? That game's going to be exclusive. The talk is like for more than a full year. So these games just are that way. And to come to PC, and then if you're mad that if you're a PlayStation person and you're mad that it's coming to PC and PlayStation, well, it's the same thing as Days Gone. We just had that talk actually a few days ago on my second channel where it's like, people that were going to buy Final Fantasy VII, the base game, last year's version, right? They already have it. So to have a new game come out that's really just the same game, obviously the enhancements and stuff, and bring it to PC, Sony's made the majority of their money. It's not releasing day one. I guess it technically is, right? PS5 version and PC version are releasing day one, but the game itself, Final Fantasy VII Remake, has been exclusive for a full year. Sony has made the max amount of profits that they're going to make, right? All that kind of same thing for why you put Horizon on PC. Well, Sony, you've already sold all the copies you're going to sell on PlayStation 4, okay? Days Gone, same thing. So that's how I look at it. I think that's a nice way of looking at it. That's not really a bad situation at all. And yeah, I agree. I mean, I can see people getting upset. To me, the biggest thing, here's the biggest thing to me, and this will kind of end the video. The biggest thing to me is how much additional content they put in. And I guess not necessarily, well, kind of back and forth of like, does it matter how many hours, let's even say, of new content do they add? You look at what they have or what we have for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it's like, yeah, it's a big game, it's a meaty game, it's a game that, like you said, is finished when you're done with it, but maybe you want more. If you add DLC and it's like 2-3 hours, is that, along with a next-gen upgrade, worth paying another $60. That's where I think it gets a little bit more controversial, right? Because if it's massive, it's like a 10-15 hour expansion, I don't think there's any question that it would be worth it. But you see a lot of games doing free upgrades to, from one generation to the other. So if the new stuff beyond the upgrades isn't much, it's not a lot there, then I could understand people getting a little upset about that. So that's obviously at least for me, that's what I'm going to be looking at the most for the state of play, is if they do announce like a game of the year, will they say, okay, it comes with 4 story DLCs? And then I don't think they would say it all in the state of play, but maybe afterwards, like IGN did an interview and they said, okay, look, each one is 3 hours long, and there's all these new skins or all this different stuff that's being added. Then obviously the game becomes like bigger, and it becomes worth, I would say, rebuying it. Okay, so let us know in the comments below, guys. What do you think? Do you think the game gets announced today? Would you buy it? If it does happen, right? What does it depend on anything for you? Let us know in the comments below. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed here. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. Who knows if it gets announced today? I'll obviously be covering State of Play afterwards. Make sure you guys are following Jay in all the places. His main channel, his second channel, his Twitter. He does a phenomenal job. And like I said, if you guys like Final Fantasy, I mean, he knows more about it than me. He's covered it extremely well for a very long time. So make sure you guys check out all of his stuff, again, in the description and pinned comment. Jay, thank you so much for being on this video with me.
Hey, dude, thanks for having me. I always love talking about Final Fantasy, and I'm really interested to see, what your viewers think. Would they feel excited? Would they feel cheated? Would they feel like this is a reason now to wait to buy games longer? Definitely interested to read the comments on this one.
For sure. So let us know what you guys think, and we will see you all on the next video.